Hey guys, welcome to another Tardis console building video. I'm sorry for not having a video up last week. I did intend to, but the package I was waiting for ended up taking a few more days to get here than I initially assumed. But today, we're going to talk about that package. But just to let you guys know, a quick update about the weather in Vancouver. It is still-ish around 10 degrees. I really don't want to work on anything below 10 degrees, mainly because paints and adherents and glues and all that kind of stuff. I had to really do a lot of this kind of out in my carport and driveway area, so I want to be able to work on this and put everything together and have it really go well to be able to move indoors without having such a drastic change of temperature. So it's looking like by the end of this month, I will be able to start construction. I have been talking with some engineer friends and as well as getting things going as far as making it easier to construct initially so that when it goes together, it'll be less work than it was before. I don't know if you remember, or if you guys have watched through all my previous videos, it takes a lot of work to cut out all the little windows per panel. And when I was doing that myself, it was a little hard. I did employ someone in Sterling back when I lived there in Ontario that helped me, a kitchen cabinet person, to help me kind of cut those windows. So this time I kind of want to take that step out and make it more exacting. Plus I want to pre-pilot as much as I can. It will make it easier to drop in everything. So it's going to take a little bit more work, but I think by the end of the month I'll be ready to get those cuts. I'm really excited. So it's going to be exciting. Once that's done, it's going to be great. I've been talking with electrical people to help me figure out the lights to make them blink, adding sound effects, you name it. I'm looking forward to adding all these little bells and whistles, especially the whistles, to this build. So thank you for bearing with me so far. It's going to be exciting. But between now and then, we are going to talk about parts that I have collected and parts I haven't found yet. So to start off, I want to give a huge shout out to Aaron Williams, who's Bio Doctor 900. I'm gonna put his link in the description because he also is working on a console, but he's working on the 9th, 10th version, and it's going really well. I ended up doing a little bit of 3D work for him because he had these. Now, as you're looking at the close-ups of these are the lights that are right behind the throttle. When I first saw these way back when I first started doing this build and researching the parts and talking with them on the Tardis Builders Forum, the assumption was that these were marbles, and they do have a kind of a marbly look when you're looking from the side, but really it's optic. When you flip it over, you see that it's actually just engraved on the inside but smooth on the outside. This is the same technique, funny enough, that's used on the Power Ranger helmets and armor that are used in that film. So it gives that kind of like, I don't know, like a marbleized or internal structural kind of cool reflective look because the way the light's reflecting off the steps and designs that are in the inside and bringing it out to the smooth surface on the outside. So they're really cool. Obviously there's no base for these. They do have a knurl or a thread around it so that they can actually screw into something, and it may be how they attached it to these bevel bits that you're seeing in the photos. That I'm not sure, but regardless, I'm gonna probably have to make those, which I'm totally fine with. It's gonna be totally cool. I probably won't thread them in, but we'll see. We'll see how well I can get it to work. But I'm really excited about these, so thank you so much, Aaron. I can't wait to add these to the console. It's just so cool having actual parts. Now, I don't have any identification on these. He did pick them up at Bob's Bits, as where most of these parts have come from that are unidentified, but they're really great. They're glass. This is something that I can either make a 3D model or casting of. If that arises from anyone who wants to do this build, I'm more than willing to help where I can for other people to get this, or at least as accurate representation. Next up, if you guys remember previously I talked about these gauges. These are also on the same panel as the yellow lights, the helm panel. And I was going to take these, and I've already done all the legwork of this. I took the plate out, I scanned it, I made artwork to reference the images that I was able to accumulate of the actual PPM drivers that were used on the build, and that was good. I was happy about that. The size is right. It might actually even be the same size that are on the actual build, so I was really excited about this. Because the PPM drivers are discontinued, they're hard to find, and never mind finding two, especially the right size. But I did. I just luckily took a search in UK eBay and I found a pair of these. So as you can see, they have the right screen. They're the actual PPM drivers. They actually have a PPM driver card on the back, which I will be removing. But they're dimensionally identical. The interesting thing about this is this casing is also Sifam. I know this says well on the front, but it's Sifam as well. So both of these are Sifam. They're both the same, and I think looking at them, they're exactly the same housing. It's just what's inside that's different. But these are exactly what I've been looking for. These are the exact ones, as far as I can tell, that are used on the build, and it's so exciting. So I got a pair of these. Cost a little bit more than I was hoping it would, but I'm really happy to have them right from the UK. It's interesting because it makes it more real. Doing the way I was going to do it by replacing the panel would have worked fine, and at the end of the day, probably wouldn't have made a notice. But these are them. These are the actual things. So I'm excited to share that with you guys that I got them. Keep an eye on stuff if you're looking for parts of this console, or even just parts in general. Always go back over and look. I mean, doing it day by day can work. However, if you can just do it, I don't know, once a week, once a couple months, you name it, you will see it. Obviously, you can also put eBay alerts in there as well, but I also check out Facebook Marketplace. I also check out a bunch of other kind of resell or used equipment sites, because you never know. And the UK has a ton of independently owned ones that are they put a bunch of stuff up, and like Mullard Magic is a great place to find some vintage radio parts. So you don't have to stick with eBay, but hey, I'm so happy I found these, and I can't wait to install all this stuff. Next up, I wanted to quickly talk about my custom panel. There was a piece on there that I put, if you guys were noticing, of a actual real world plane part. One thing I wanted to do with that panel was make it so that there was some reference to the other panels, and one of the references obviously is the radio that's on the mechanical panel, and I really liked that aspect, having something real world as a unit on there. So I got this in the mail. This was something that cost me approximately around $50 that I got, and maybe a little expensive for something that isn't accurate, but this is a real part. It's a real thing, and it is just so satisfying. All the switches click up, a couple interesting ones, got like a good rotary click here, and like nice smooth dials here. So really, this is just a fun piece of equipment to add to my custom panel. I think it kind of blends in with the console as a whole. So I'm looking forward to installing this. It's a lot more compact than I expected based on the photos that were online, which I'm totally okay with, because making it smaller means it's going to fit in the console that much easier. But I'm really excited about this. It's just interesting having some real world things all around the whole thing, but this one, just having a whole unit is kind of fun. So this is a lot of fun to put in there. And last up, I bought something in the UK because I identified it correctly. I'm not sure how accurate it is. It's accurate to some of the photos, and I'll explain more in a second. This right here is a telephone. It's a Binatone trend phone. It's a typical wall phone. For those of you who don't recognize this piece of technology, I was showing this to my stepson, who immediately said he thinks he's seen this in a book once. So there's that. It's just a wall phone, simple to use. I identified this, I believe, correctly based on the behind the scenes photos from Nick Robato, who posted this sitting on his console before cutting away. I initially thought that this phone was what he modified into the one that's actually used on the console, due to the size and taking away the numbers and all that kind of stuff. But in hindsight, looking at it, it looks like he custom made the handset. I could be wrong. Either way, this is the one that's in the photo. It took a little bit to figure out. I mostly designated by, this little curve here. You have the port here for the phone, and so several other details like a dimple here. And as you're looking at these close-up pictures of it, and looking at the pictures that I have online, which is really just the one, I think it's the exact phone that he used for reference. I'm just not sure if it was ever converted into a phone for the console. This was a $10 purchase. It was a fun thing to get, but if you're looking for kind of reference, hey, it's kind of fun. We didn't get this version here in Canada that I recollect, and this seems to be a very standard UK handset that I was told when I was asked about it to some UK friends. So really, it is what it is. It's kind of cool. It's fun. It does give me size reference though, based on seeing it on the console. So worst case, I got size reference. Best case, maybe I can modify it, or maybe I can use it for reference at the very least. But those are the parts I just got. I have some more coming in that I'm just waiting for. One really important one, which is that fader dimmer that I've been talking about in a few videos. It's supposed to be here probably this upcoming week. Fingers crossed, and I'll do a video devoted to that, mainly because I did a lot of research on it just to find that thing. So yeah, there's a few other pieces I'm still looking for. I have been posting them on my Instagram, as well as some Facebook pages as well, if you've seen them. Finding some of these parts is hard without knowing how they originated, what they originated from, and it just makes it a little bit frustrating. I am making steps to recreate those handful of things that I can't identify, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the fact that I've identified several of these items, and I'm just down to the last handful. So Again, if you guys recognize any parts in my previous videos that I have mentioned that I haven't been able to find, then please, post down in the comments below, message me on Instagram, Facebook, wherever is easier for you. But I'm probably going to start posting a couple videos upcoming that's just kind of a condensed version of all the parts I don't have identified. Not necessarily panel by panel, but maybe just like, here's this panel, this is what I'm looking for, here's this panel, this is what I'm looking for. And hopefully we can widen the net. The one thing about looking for parts is that sometimes you get so narrowly focused on what it could be or should be that you ignore all the other options. And that's happened several times trying to find these things. And I'm really excited to go down that route for the final pieces, like those fluted metal discs that are all over the console. What are they? Who knows? They're not pastry cutters, I can tell you that. Anyway, if you guys have any comments, questions, anything you want to add in the comments below, that'd be great. I like reading your follow-ups. There's a lot of really creative people out there who have been making their own consoles and have questions, so please ask me away. Hopefully at the end of the month too, once I start building, I'll have more information about the actual console 3D files as well. I have no problem releasing those at some point if you want to make this version. But anyway guys, thank you so much for continuing to follow this entire journey. I'm looking forward to sharing the whole thing and having it done and to play with, obviously. But guys, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for keeping me alive through this whole thing. But as always, thanks for watching.